Good evening, dear teacher. My name is Santiago Pina, and next I'm going to explain about my lesson plan number 4, how I'm designing my class, what strategies and methods I'm going to use in it. The TEFL objectives that I'm deciding to use here are that we are capable of describing our personality. We will be able to establish small dialogues in which the use of gerunds, intervenes, formulate sentences and questions with gerunds, and the methodology and strategies that I'm decided using here are the direct method, such as the PDM method, the grammar translation method, and the audiolingual method. And the strategies that I'm going to use in a class is the pair work, the dialogue, the written exercise, the text transcription, the anticipatory set. The students observe the images and illustrations they have there in their text to be able to infer what about is the topic to be developed in class. They have to see the any images to infer what is the topic of the class. The main teaching method is to address the topic that is going to be discussed in class. They start by reading the word bank, in which you will find words related to the topic of study, and they will be useful to be able to carry out the following exercise. Here I'm going to use the dive method. The teacher reads activity 1 and then asks the student to pay attention to the reading. Then the students should analyze them and also observe the illustrations that they have below. Yes, they have to analyze any of the images that the book contains. Making use of the words from the question bank, the student will fill in each word that is related to the image they previously analyzed. It is explained to them that we're working with adjectives, so they will have to fill in and analyze the suffix of each one in the following activity. Yes, they have to analyze the suffix of any adjectives. And students will use these adjectives to be able to fill in the sentences they have in the next section. I'm referring to the activity number 2. The teacher reads and gives them an example of what expressions are used to describe a, a person, animal, or thing, so that they can engage in a small dialogue with the wounded partner using all the information they had before. Yes, with that information offered with the partners, they are going to work in pairs, sharing the information. The teacher reads the sentences in the following activity and questions found in the test to which they must answer according their personalities. Yes, in the other page they have to respond about their personality. For the grammatical part, the teacher reads the information um, contained in the box, and with the students they were filling the combinations of examples, also explained using the board for better comprehension of my students about the topic. Here I'm going to use the grammar translation method. Also, the students are explaining about grammar and vocabulary strategies that are next on the books. Although, for reinforce the practice of dialogue again, the students will exchange the information they filled out in the previous exercise while the teacher monitors that the students are dedicated to the activity. Yes, students are going to work again in pairs, exchanging ideas and information about the activity that I mentioned here, and I'm going only to monitor that the activity is carried out in order. The guided practice. The students are asked to take on their notebooks and the statement is put on the blackboard. I'm going to put the statement that they have to realize of what they are going to do. They are clearly explaining what they are going to do and if the activity consists and that the students have to write 3 examples of sentences in which they only have gerund, other 3 examples of sentences of only gerund and infinitives, and finally 3 examples more about gerund after prepositions. Guided by the information that and examples in the book. Yes, they can use books, the information that the book contains to help to do this activity. Independent practice. Each student is assigned some worksheets in which they will have to carry out exercise related to the topic that was discussed in class. I'm going to share with my students worksheets that contains only exercise related with the topic of the class and not to treat about all the topics. The sentences are read to them and it explained to them how to do each of them. To develop this activity, students only have 10 minutes and after of this they have to finish the activity. The teacher asks students to work individually and silently while I'm going to monitor them. The assessment. The way in how I'm going to measure the acknowledgement and learning to my students is the worksheets. I'm going to analyze the worksheets in which my students worked one by one to measure the learning achieved by each student according to the results obtained. I'm going to analyze what can be implemented in my class if perhaps some students does not obtain the required minimum. And finally, the classroom review and follow-up is that consists in the end of the class, the teacher will show the students a video which deals with types of personalities that exist, to which they should pay attention to the audio in order to enrich their phonological knowledge and vocabulary. Yeah, in each part I decided to share with my students a short video in which students could listen uh, about personalities that exist. They can also put in practice their listening skills, trying to understand what is in the video. It is all for this lesson plan. Thanks for watching.